Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, animals of all ages, welcome to another edition and a season opener for season 2 here at Monday night LMU Sprint Series hosted by Australian Sim Sport Alliance here for Simsational TV. Wow, what a sight to behold. We are live here from Portimao, and right beside me in the commentary box here at Simsational TV is no other than the man, the myth, the legend, Lindsay Larko. Muddle, how are you, my friend?
I am not too bad, and I cannot wait to get this season kicked off. Season 1 was an absolute rip snorter. I wasn't there for quite a lot of it, but this season it looks like it's going to be you and I all the way through if all goes well, and I am absolutely beaming for it.
Oh, yeah, aren't we both? And I reckon by the time we get halfway through the season, there's going to be some mix-ups. There's not going to be repeat champions. I wouldn't say that's going to be my gamble for now. And it's a good evening to our viewers here at Simsational TV. Good to have you along here tonight as well for a very, very exciting track nonetheless, and action coming our way. The drivers here are in briefing at this point in time, so just hold on to your horses. They're not going around. We're not missing out on anything here. They're all sitting there, but look at the man in front. It is the Sheep. He is right there in the Toyota. He has taken over Paul Britt's first ever go here in the Sprint Series. No, that is not. I'm completely wrong. Or am I right? He's now transferred from the GT3s into the... no, that is Paul Huddy. I keep getting the two Pauls mixed up. Sorry, but Britty is right there.
Britt was in the GT3. He was in the McLaren.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, there you go. I've even counted myself out of that one. But anyway, Harry Lawrence in third place, Nicholas Guterra in fourth, and Mr. Colombo in fifth so far in the hypercars. You can tell, if you're a new viewer tonight, the split between who is who. You've got the red icons, little red stripe next to the guys who are in a hypercars, and the GT3s are in the orange. It looks like those cars are getting ready to go back out onto the circuit now and just do their last minute practice. And what better time than just to have a look and see what the form guide is doing for everyone at the moment. Lindsay Muddle, we've got Nathan Wilson here on screen at this point in time, and he is a new entrant here tonight into the LMU Sprint Series, driving a Lamborghini.
Yeah, that's an interesting car choice, but I do think with the right hands behind it, it can be quite a pacey machine. So can anything in LMU. That's part of the beauty of the hypercar class. They're all fair balanced. They are still... there is still a little bit of a balance where cars can be quicker, but the driver can definitely make the difference in such a hard machine to master. And then also in the GT3 field this season, we have an absolutely incredible addition with 3 new cars. The Porsche 992 GT3R. You have the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, the new one of the only Sims to have it at the moment, besides Rennsport, which is not really raceable. And then you have the Ford Mustang, which is out in full force tonight. I can already see Mr. Tyson Robbs behind the wheel of one of them as well, already leading the LMGT3 class in practice. So what a season we have ahead of us, as that is Spinazzi in that Mustang, and what a beautiful car it is. And it's just good to see some more variety up and down the grid.
Yeah, very much so. And when we want better racing, what better than to introduce some new spec cars and some new cars in total, ready to rock and roll around this field. And it's going to take a little bit for some of the guys who are used to being quick to seeing these other cars just start to come into their battlegrounds a little bit there, and maybe take some of the chockies away from them. But that is the legendary status of split grid racing too. We have hypercars and GT3s racing around tonight. This is the first tier, by the way, ladies and gents. There is 2 tiers in this series, but we are looking at the pros, and that's who we will be broadcasting here at Simsational TV for the next few Mondays to come. Don't you worry about that. But we've only got about a minute and a bit, well, not even under a minute to go. So before qualifying ticks over, it's time here to go racing. Oh boy, it's an exciting one tonight. I'll give you the hot tip, ladies and gents. We are live from Portimao, Circuit Algarve, if you really want to be there, in Portugal. We've took the Simsational chopper and had to refill it about 5 or 6 times mid-flight to get here, but we got here nonetheless. 15 turns at Portimao. It is a very hilly circuit indeed. We've got 4.68 kilometres of action-packed racing coming away, but before that, it is qualifying, a 10-minute session, and it's a private session as always here for the LMU Sprint Series. They like to have their own clean air, so there's no excuses, no lap traffic to get in and out of their way for all these drivers tonight. And the race length is a single one, but it's an hour of hardcore battling. We will have multiple cars driving the wheels off these GT3s versus the hypercars, which are your two classes tonight. Hypercars versus your GT3s. You can see the Ferrari there and the Mustang as well, ready to go. We've got some corner names to learn here, Lindsay Muddle. They're in different sort of specs in terms of our language, but nonetheless, it is going to be exciting here, and qualifying is only a minute or two away.
Yeah, and that is very exciting. You can see already Wilson pulling off the track. I think a couple of drivers will now see just finishing up laps, then pulling off to the side of the road to get ready for qualifying action. But right now, the two drivers in the two classes leading their fields respectively is Lamb and Robbs. So they will have all the momentum kicking into the qualifying session. But has anybody been sandbagging or maybe just fuel runs in these cars? And then in qualifying, they'll really give it everything that they have. And that is part of the guessing game here in LMU. And in any series that has a practice session beforehand, it makes it so much better to not know who's going to be setting the pace, but we still have a rough idea here from this practice session, but you still don't know those sort of mix-ups such as tyre or fuel, which just makes it always entertaining. But we have a lot of drivers in the mix, it seems like, especially that hypercar class, that top three looking quite close together. But then you do have a reasonable gap back to Guerrero, but then he's very close to Colombo as well in the hypercar class. So definitely a couple of names to be mixed up during the race.
Yeah, definitely can't wait for that to happen. As we can see now, qualifying has ticked over, ladies and gents. We'll wait till the 10-minute mark before the guys start to get out onto the racetrack. But in fact, they've all just gone, bugger it, I'm getting out there. It is a private qualifying, so we're not going to see multiple cars file out. It is now whoever is first in best dressed and the last in best dressed too. If you got a last-minute qualifying dash lap, as you can see there with 10 seconds about ready to tick over, Nicholas Guerrero is the man out on track at the moment and flying along. He will be one to look out for this season. No Alex Kay here tonight either, by the way. A big omittance from the hypercar field in his BMW, ever trustworthy, but no sign from him. We'll also see how Paul Britt goes as well as he pops out onto the track too to start his outlap tonight, transferring from the GT3s into a hypercar. It's a completely different beast, but then at the moment the pace setter for the GT3 cars is this man in the brand new spec Mustang, Tyson Robbs. He'll be looking to get himself way further up the grid than he would hope to be, if especially got the best car on the circuit. So a bit of pressure point motors coming our way from everyone in sundry. But let's tick over. I think Chris Weitzel here could be on for a pretty good season. Lindsay Munro.
Munro. Ah, yes. I'm now a Munro. Same initial.
He is your dad. He's old enough.
Fair enough. But yeah, Weitzel definitely could have a good season. He had some reasonable outings in the first running of this series, and now a lot of the drivers have experience under their belts in this simulator. It's proved to be absolutely spectacular for racing so far in that first season. Now we have a second season where everybody's warmed up, ready to go, new cars as well, so all of the different variables you could think of. But now we'll see what these drivers really have, now that they have some game time under their belt, some driving time underneath them in these hypercars, in the GT3 cars, and now we'll get to see the first qualifying laps of the series. So here we go, onboard telemetry on with Chris Weitzel as he makes his way down the straight here in the Algarve, as he makes his way down towards turn one. Primera, very high speed turn one. You just got to dab the brakes a little bit, get it down to third gear, and then power right out. And considering the type of corner, very high speed, and then down through the hairpin, through Lagos, a little bit deep there for Chris Weitzel. And then you have a very tricky traction corner over the crest. The rear end of the car likes to step out, dance around the track as you will, and he has to keep it in check, and he does keep it in check as he makes his way down towards turn 5, the hairpin, first gear, get it tipped in, full lock, but his tyres clearly not all the way up to temperature just yet in these hypercars. As we're so used to seeing, they do not warm up very quickly, so a boatload of understeer as he just dabs the brakes, through the high-speed right-hander and then get it down to second gear again over a crest. This track is full of elevation change. It's called the roller coaster, not for any sort of bad reason, but because it is literally a roller coaster, and it definitely puts you in your pace. There's a lot of blind corners, such as this one, turn number 8, as he flicks it through the right-hander and then right back up the hill, flat out through this left-hand kink, and then on the brakes heavy into another reasonably blind corner, but not completely blind as he comes over the apex. A little bit of a slide there. You can see the wheel work here from Chris Whitesell, just really pushing it away as he heads through turn 14, and then now he makes his run into the final corner. Should be completely flat out in these hypercars. They do get a little bit of air over the crest, and then right up to the line now. What is his banker time in this qualifying session going to be? What's the first lap of LMU going to be? And it is going to be a 1 minute 34. I can't really read it. Zach O'Reilly, you might have to read that one out.
Sorry, I can't see. It is a 1 minute 34 odd, I would say, with 2 seconds between 2.2. 1 minute 34.5 is his best time at this point at the moment on the track. But Matthew Lamb's gone through, bang, said thank you very much. I will take everyone with no prisoners withheld and throw the key away. A 1:32.318. Wowee, that is something to behold between the rest of them. It's incredible to see what these guys are doing. Jeez Louise, in terms of the timings, it's incredible. That is 1.2 seconds, or 1.5 seconds even better than Muhammad Colombo, as you can see there. And Tyson Robbs also doing a very, very nice job. He has only got 7/10 between himself and the hairbrush in Shawnee Brimblecombe behind him too. So a little bit of heat coming our way here in qualifying. You can see everyone sort of filing through and doing their best laps at the moment. Those splits there are what you want to see in terms of the overall lap time. But if you want to have the split grid, we can get that in just a second. If I can find the goddamn overlay for it, we will find it in a second. But nonetheless, these guys are having very, very good driving sessions at the moment. And Muhammad Colombo is on a purple second sector here, Lindsay. He is driving the wheels off that thing. 33.02 versus a 33.1 for Matthew Lamb. Could he be on here for another setup to maybe take the chockies over Matthew Lamb for P1?
It'll be really close. Colombo is improving, but it all comes down now to the final sector. Colombo up towards the line in the Ferrari 499P. Can he get close, or can he pip himself back ahead of Greg Brock and Haney Curie as he crosses the line now back into second place at only 4/10 off of Matthew Lamb in the P1 Toyota. So not a bad lap from the Ferrari at all. And with 4 minutes to go, there is still plenty of time to find, I'm sure, for all of these drivers as he pushes away in the Ferrari still up in the GT3 class. There's not too much changing around as Paul Britt moves himself up into third place in his hypercar debut here in the LMU series. He's absolutely flying along in the Peugeot, really enjoying that car clearly as it makes its way around the Portuguese circuit, looking very comfortable, only a 10th off Colombo at the moment, so that's exactly where he needs to place himself. He just needs to go a little bit faster, and he is going a little bit faster through the first sector. He is just a tiny bit up on his previous best as he makes his way through the roller coaster second sector, through into the fast right-hander now on the front nose of the Peugeot. With this beautiful camera angle, you can really get a sense of the elevation change through the roller coaster section as he makes his way through turn 8 and then back down the hill towards turn 9. A flat-out kink left-hander as you go into the trickiest corner of the circuit. So hard not to lock up here, and it's also very, very blind. So for the drivers in the cockpit, you cannot see a thing through half of that corner as he now makes his way up through the crest and makes his way towards turn 13. Heavy on the anchors, and he's absolutely flying in the Peugeot. But I think he might have made a mistake there in the third sector.
He did. He completely lost it right there. Oversteer into the corner and just overshot it in terms of the grip adhesion. The tyre said, I've had enough. And that was all for Paul Britt, done by the shouting, but he's got plenty of time left. 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go. Hopefully his tyres are still got some sort of life in them after that. But here you can see he's already full balls to the wall, pedal to the metal. So he's going to go for another crack here. And I'll tell you what, Shawnee Madison is another guy in the GD3s we need to look out for. This guy's come through in that Corvette and taking people by surprise. He's sitting in fourth at the moment, albeit only 300ths of a second off pipping Ash Johnston there for third place. So very, very close indeed for these guys in the GD3 class. Although it is Tyson Robb still leading this thing by at least a second there over the rest of the field in the GD3 cars. I reckon they'll all probably be wanting to get into a Mustang very, very quick, smart. But Ash Johnson, doing nicely in the Porsche there. Very, very cool customer. Another new person to the series here tonight, Lindsay Muddle. Good to have another entry into this. And he's doing very well. It says he's 15th here at the moment, but that is overall. He is second in class. Don't you worry about that. The Porsche livery looking nice there. I like the yellow and white sort of action there. But we are in the 2 minutes, the dying moments here, ladies and gents. This is where you only get 2 more goes at it if you're ready to rock and roll. And speaking of which, Matthew Lamb's dipped himself into the 31s with a 31.799, call it a 31.8. There be abouts, and he is flying at the moment. Jeez Louise, that Toyota, I don't think we've seen anyone drive the Toyota this well in the past series, so showing him how it's done in the old Tokyo Whizzer, that's for sure there, Lindsay.
I think Stephen Tai is the only driver I can remember to drive the Toyotas that well in the first series. And just to comment on the Ford Mustang in that GT3 class, I'm actually not sure everyone will want to jump into a Ford Mustang. I have heard whispers that it is the Porsche that is still the quickest car in that GT3 class since the most recent update. But that's all up for the drivers as well. It's all about driving style here in LMU. As we've learned, all the drivers choose different cars because you can get pace out of just about anything. But up the front here, we're looking at Chandra in the leading hypercar class, currently sitting in 8th position. He's got a lot of time to find if he wants to get himself up to the likes of Matthew Lamb and Harry Lawrence, who's currently sitting 2nd in the Cadillac. He has moved over cars from the Alpine hypercar as he pushes his way through the right-hander. Paul Britt currently sitting in 3rd. Colombo and Latanzio hold 4th and 5th. So Chandra is going to need to find a big improvement if he wants to try and find himself further up close to that top 5. Meanwhile, Tyson Robbs has a 9/10 gap over Johnston in the P2 GT3. I'd love to go on board here with Tyson Robbs as he wrestles this Mustang around Portugal. Here we go on board. No, he's slowed up. He's decided to stop. He doesn't want the onboard lap to be shown data hiding, one could say. No, not really. He just doesn't want to reveal his secrets too early in the season. But meanwhile, we look to Paul Britt currently in 3rd position. He improved through the first sector, but he was down through the middle by 2/10. It will be a mega 3rd sector if he is to find an improvement here in the Peugeot as he makes his way towards the line. The timer hits 0, so this will be his final lap, his final chance, and he stays. No, he goes P2 in the Peugeot, and what a final sector it was, a 2.5 improvement. That moves himself past Harry Lawrence by only 100th of a second, so the Cadillac, and he's flying. Harry Lawrence, he's purple in the middle, up in the first. Can he match Matthew Lamb in the P1 Toyota as he makes his way around the penultimate corner now in the Cadillac, in the hypercar, power out of the corner. All he's got to do is negotiate the flat-out final corner, and he should be home free. Can he make it to the likes of Matthew Lamb on the lap timing board? What can he do as he makes his way towards the line in the yellow Cadillac? It's going to be a 1 minute 32.0, 2.5 off Matthew Lamb, but an amazing effort from the Cadillac late here in qualifying.
Oh, well done to everyone. That was sensational, if you don't mind. Good evening to Mr. one and only, I'll tell you what, Mr. Marshall. Good to see you here, but what a cracking end to that qualifying session. Matthew Lamb takes the chockies. Harry Lawrence in 2nd place. We'll get you the actual results there in 1 second as we bring them up now. Wow, that is qualifying done and dusted. Matthew Lamb, Harry Lawrence and Paul Britt are your top 3 drivers, and only half a second between those top 3, so it is on like Donkey Kong for the racing. We've got Chandra, Colombo, Latanzio, Stephen Tai, Harry Curry, Greg Brock as in switching to their hypercars as well inside the top 10, with Nicholas Cotero rounding that out, with Vintner, Whitesell and Nathan Wilson are your final place getters there in the hypercar class. But Tyson Robbs takes it out in GT3 by a good chunk of a margin, over or nearly a second, 9/10 between him, but only a bee's whisker, 600ths of a second between Johnston and Dylan King for the top 2 steps on the podium. Matthew Herod, maybe from Herod Motorsport, could be interesting to see the heritage there. Shawnee Madison in the Corvette, Shawnee Brimblecombe, Spinazzi going from the hypercar class back to GT3s, Benny Collins, not the Stig, Dan Andrews, Phil Random, Hayden Marsh, not setting a time there. So 24 cars here tonight, ladies and gents. Healthy grid, but that is what qualifying brings. And with the racing just about around the corner, Lindsay Muddle, we've got to get our predictions in for the hypercars and the GT3s. You can fire away first, and then I will go second.
Well, it's always a bit hard to call in the hypercar and GT3 classes, especially with the pit stop 60-minute race as per usual. But right now, considering that qualifying session, it looks like Lamb had a chokehold over the entire session, even at the death of it. When Lawrence did improve, that was a mega lap from him, and he still wasn't able to beat Matthew Lamb to pole position. So I think it might be him or Harry Lawrence. It's too hard to pick between the two of them, but there's always an outside chance for someone else as well in that hypercar class. And I think now the question is, where's Alex Kay when you need him? Because I don't think we would have seen a qualifying session quite so far away until the end if Alex Kay was there, absolutely flying in his BMW as usual. But he will return, I'm absolutely sure. But Matthew Lamb will be basking in the glory at the moment. But in the GT3 class, it's got to be Tyson Robbs. There's no two ways about it. As long as he doesn't get into an incident, he should take this win home easily.
All I can say is keep it mean, keep it clean, ladies and gents, and racers out there too. Give it all you've got, because that is what it's going to take, and be consistent to keep these cars within the limits of your talent versus their own adhesion. That is what wins you races, or even gets you a podium position or further up the grid than what you expected. So keep that in mind for now. But geez, it's I'm going to say Matthew Lamb, yes, as the winner. I reckon Tyson Robbs, for the first outing in the Mustang, he won't know what the tyre deg is really like over a full race stint. There's so many variables. So well, I'm going to say it's not going to be as easy for Tyson Robbs as what we would initially preempt. But nonetheless, that's what racing is about. No one knows until that fat lady sings and the checkered flag is waved. And speaking of which, we're only 41 seconds away here from lights out in terms of rolling starts and ready to go. So get yourself strapped in, ladies and gents. Get all those condiments ready and refilled. It's going to be interesting to see what we do with 60 minutes coming our way here of Le Mans Ultimate Sprint Racing action here live from Portimao. I'm bloody excited for this one. And when it comes to racing, you just want to be in the right place at the right time. And when it comes to turn one here at Portimao, it's a long straight down the sensational straight. We were going to call it tonight, it's a sensational straight, down into turn one, downhill, right hand up, heavy braking. It is going to be so easy to lock a brake and just destroy yours or someone else's race. So I hope we don't see any of that as we get ready to go roll racing here. Lindsay Muddle, this is your time to shine, my friend. Take it away.
Alrighty, so we have Matthew Lamb alongside Harry Lawrence to kick off the LMU Series number 2. And then you have Britt and Chandra on the second row with Colombo hot in pursuit in 5th position. And then in GT3s, you have Tyson Robbs and Johnston on the first row. But here we go for the race start in Portugal. The green flags are ready to fly. The green lights are ready to illuminate here in the Algarve. Matthew Lamb gets ready to begin racing action for Series 2 of the ASA LMU Series. And in a moment's time, he'll gun it away as the green flags are going to fly at any moment now. Matthew Lamb waiting and waiting and waiting. The drivers will be waiting for the green flags. And now as they head towards the line, and I think we are now underway for racing action. And what a start it was from Harry Lawrence, and he's going to sweep the long way round and already take the lead as they make their way through turn 1. Lawrence with an electric start over Matthew Lamb. Chandra in the background in 3rd place, and then Britt trying to put the pressure onto him. Meanwhile, in the GT3 class, we have a little bit of squabbling up the front here through the mid-pack. They're wheel to wheel as they go through, and the Lamborghini almost getting in the way of Tyson Robbs, even though he's in a hypercar, as they make their way up through the hill. Dylan King trying to put the pressure on. Meanwhile, Harry Lawrence still leading this race away. That's Chandra very wide. That's going to put him under pressure immensely from Paul Britt as they make their way up the hill. And now Chandra loses out to Colombo as well. The Ferraris go side by side through the fast right-hander, and Chandra clutching at the straws here to hold on. Oh no, he's made a mistake, and also Latanzio got tapped around the other Ferrari hypercar of not Chandra, I forget, I think it was actually Chandra potentially who got tapped around, and that is not good. No, it wasn't Chandra who got tapped around. I can't even tell who it was because they went flying so far down the timing tower. But the Peugeot did tap around one of the other Ferraris in that battle as well. So now you have the top 5 in the hypercar class being shaken up. It's Lawrence from Lamb, from Britt, from Curry, then Ty. So that is definitely not the starting order I envisioned after an action-packed lap 1. But it is the order we're dealing with here in the hypercar class. And that is the first lap of the LMU series completed.
Well, look out, it's all up and into the front here. Larry Lawrence is under pressure here from the Lamb himself. The Sheep is coming right at him. Monkey doing the 2-1. No, Harry Lawrence gets on the brakes a bit later, but then wide through that second phase of the turn there. Wow, that was good stuff from the both of them. Keep the cars on the circuit. You can see the driver behaviour and how they're driving these things up through the tricky, over the crest, off camber, left-hander, trying to get it all sorted and settled in those hypercar class. Beautiful opening lap from everyone involved, apart from a couple of Ferraris and a Peugeot getting together. But nonetheless, the top three here is 100% glued to each other. Velcro style indeed. They're driving the wheels off these cars. It's beautiful to see some nail-biting racing here early on with 57 minutes left in the race. Plenty of time for these guys to sort it out at the moment. And I'll tell you what, it's happening here in the GT3 class as well. Dylan King versus Ash Johnson. The quickest car on the track, according to Lindsay Muddle, is the Porsche, and the Ferrari, and Dylan King keeping him very, very honest indeed. He's trying to set up a little bit of a run here up the hill through the fast left-hander. We've got into a double right-hander here. This is incredible stuff. You can see the car behaviour of Ash Johnson there, just trying everything, using that inertia in the rear of the heavy car of the Porsche to get itself pointed and turned and then angled straight out. Very, very nice driving indeed. The guys behind him are very, very close to each other indeed. Herod is hounding the back here of Shawnee Madison, who has gained a position from the start there. We can see where they've gained it and lost it on your timing tower there. If it wants to pop up, it's not going to pop up for us, just to absolutely throw a spanner in the works for me. So bugger that off. We'll go back to the gap to the next drivers on the field. Geez, it's getting close again at the front there. Lawrence versus Lamb, round two. Here we go. Another one, and Lamb's got the chockies at the moment. Harry Lawrence is just going to have to give up P2 there and say thank you, but he's trying to switch back, move up the inside. He goes for Harry Lawrence. Oh, they're neck and neck, side by side. That is incredible stuff, but Harry Lawrence just thinks second about it, but he dummies Lamb into a move. So Lamb is out of this one. Harry Lawrence is going to take it and chop the nose off the front of Matthew Lamb's car, and I'll tell you what, here comes Paul Britt too. This is getting exciting. Paul Britt is in second place. He's trying to get around Matthew Lamb, but Harry Lawrence sticking it fat there versus Paul Britt and him battling. He's hoping that these guys just keep it on song and he can gallop away for a little bit there at the end of it. Geez, that is some good racing stuff. Aggressive stuff there from Harry Lawrence. And now Paul Britt has got the best chance of a night to take out the Sheep and maybe put him to the butcher.
Yeah, and I did say it would be Lawrence or Lamb, but you can't count out Britt either. They're battling away very, very heavily as they head through the opening few laps. We have a yellow flag out on the track. This circuit definitely challenging a few of the drivers, but Britt is just sitting back and enjoying the show. I think he knows that Lamb and Lawrence are going to fight all race long, and he just has to bide his time and wait for a mistake. We already saw Matthew Lamb make a mistake at the hairpin, and that allowed Lawrence to go right back past. So maybe Lamb not dealing with the pressure as well as he possibly could be, but we'll see as the race develops if that becomes a common theme, as Colombo trying to put the pressure on to Chris Weitzel as they head round the final corner. It's Ferrari versus Ferrari, but they do have a big train of cars behind them as well, with Bittner, Latanzio, Wilson, Guerrero and Chandra still all in the train as they make their way onto the sensational straight, as we're calling it tonight. And he's in the slipstream, but I don't think he's closing enough. He's not within striking distance, but who is within striking distance is Lamb to Lawrence. That gap was a tenth a moment ago. It's extending out again, so maybe another wheel-to-wheel moment with the two contenders up the front as they still battle away. But Colombo made a little bit of a mistake there on the exit. That nearly invited Bittner, but he gets an absolutely electric run as they make their way down towards turn 5. What a run off the corner it was. And now Colombo is going to go late on the brakes and down the inside, but he runs deep at turn 5, and now he runs well and truly wide. That invites the Alpine of Greg Brock into this one, as well as Colombo runs well deep of the corner. Weitzel probably thought the move was signed, sealed and delivered from the car that had just overtaken him, and then he saw the car go off in front of him, which is exactly what he'd want to get back past, and he did take advantage and go back past. Meanwhile, Latanzio trying to put the pressure on to Bittner here and Greg Brock, but the BMW of Bittner is really shaking left, shaking right, trying to find a way past Brocky here, who's looking absolutely fantastic to start the season here in the hypercar class. As meanwhile up the front, Lamb and Lawrence, they're swapping around in the hypercars. They're side by side through the penultimate corner. Lamb on the outside, and that's Lawrence on the inside, side by side. at the final corner, and surely Lamb will lose out as they squeeze their way round the final corner. No, it's Lawrence who loses out, and now Britt finds his way involved as well as they make their way down the straight towards turn one. The Peugeot is going to go down the inside of Harry Lawrence. He's not quite able to pull up alongside, but all the action kicking off here.
Oh no, that was Paul Britt into the back of Harry Lawrence. He nearly lost it. Oh, but the downforce saved him there. I'll give you the hot tip. That was nearly disaster, and they come together again. Oh, that's going to be some damage there to the two of them. Paul Britt driving angry here. He's showing the big boys how it's done. I'll give you the hot tip. Don't worry about what he does in GT3s. He's come across to the hypercars and set them alight straight away. Cracking driving from all of these three guys in Sundry, and it's Lamb who's come out on top. He has not overcooked himself there in the pan frying department. Come out medium rare and on top as well. Stephen Ty is definitely giving Harry Curry something to think about. I'll give you the hot tip. They're both driving the wheels off these cars. Looking left, looking right. Trying to get himself up into a better position at the moment is Steve, but he's going to have to go back to the drawing board to see what is going to happen there between the three of them. And I'll give it a hot tip. Ash Johnston here, if we can get to them, is looking very racy. He has now got Dylan King within 0.3 of a second right in front of him, right at the nose of that Porsche, and these two are not going to give up anything at the point in time. Over that very, very tricky, you can left-hander, you can see the difference in pace between the hypercars and the GT3s. It's like the hypercars are just passing them like they're standing still on the track, but Dylan King holding fat. So here is Ash Johnston too. He's looking very nice, both settled on exit. Bit oversteery there from Dylan King, but he's got the power down, and nicely as well. He's gapped him a little bit there, gained a 10th or 2 on exit. So another nice bit of driving from these guys. Oh, on the slide there was Dylan. Got to be careful here. That's a very, very tricky corner to come into. I think it's called Panasonic, if I remember it correctly. But driving the wheels off these GT3 cars, the racing is as good up and down the field, ladies and gents. Don't you worry about that. There is never action that stops on the field at the moment. It looks like Eric Chandra is trying to get past Nathan Wilson here too in the hypercar class. Looking very racy indeed. Up the inside. Cuts off the curb, but Wilson said, nah, I'm going around the outside, son. You can go again. And here comes Nicholas Cotero. He's going to get the chockies on him. I think Nicholas Cotero maybe had a little bit of some sort of contact there because he redressed it at the final second. But now they're going down the hill into the fast sweeping right-hander, well, it's a hairpin, sorry, that we've got coming our way. The Cotero showing the nose, going defensive. Here's Eric Chandra. Chandra is on the defensive. Cotero just can't get that Alpine to come out of the corner nicely. He's struggling on the exit grip at the moment, and that is why he's dead set fighting for last year. This is sheep stations for the wooden spoon, ladies and gents. You'd think they were racing for P1 and 2. The hardest of these guys is in bloody incredible. And speaking of that, Ash Johnson has got the suck there on Dylan King down to Simsational straight into turn 1. Now he's got half a chance. He's going to try and go up the inside of Dylan here, and he's got the chockies for now. They're not going to come together, or they door bang each other. Ash Johnson's gone wide. He's gone deep, but he's covered off Dylan King. Dylan King slid himself out of that any battle and contention. He's going to be right into Shawnee Madison's clutches here if he's not careful. The run up the hill is so detrimental. He's giving a flash there as Dylan to Ash Johnson, saying that wasn't fair. Shawnee Madison's going to have to think about this. Shows the nose just to be defensive because Shawnee Brimblecombe, the haircut, is right behind him, and now they're all going for it. Dylan King on the slide once more. He has not got any traction in the rear of that Ferrari. Those tyres will be hot as hot at the moment, and here comes Shawnee Madison trying to get that job done. Is he going to look down the inside? No, he's going to think about it. Shawnee Brimblecombe, however, is going full aggressor, so you can see the amount of rear locking and rear brakes that these cars have. The Corvette driving very nicely indeed. This is a 4-5 car battle here between third all the way down to 8th, if you don't mind. They're all within a second of each other. It's bloody incredible, Lindsay Muddle. Cracking racing.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and the new and expanded GT3 cars are absolutely putting on a show here in the season opener. You can see a wide variety of cars in this train. You have the likes of a Porsche, an Aston Martin, a Ferrari, and anything you could ask for, a Ford Mustang. I think I already said that. I'm repeating myself as we watch the battle and go on, but we have now passed 10 minutes in this race. There's 49 minutes to go, so plenty of more racing action to see as they head round the final corner in the LMGT3 class, and they make their way onto the straight. Spinazzi right behind one of the Aston Martins, and he's going to put the pressure on to Herod here as they make their way down towards turn 1, but he's not close enough. Meanwhile, Brimblecombe trying to put the pressure on to the Corvette, and they're making their way through the right-handers to begin the lap, through the hairpin. Now this is where we've seen some drama and controversy already in the GT3 class. It's Johnston, King, Madison and Brimblecombe all fighting away here in the top 5. This is for second place, and the Corvette trying to show the nose. Madison trying to force Johnston into a mistake, King into a mistake, and that is exactly what he'll be hoping will happen. There's still a lot more time in this racing action for a mistake for any of these drivers in the train. Brimblecombe just sitting back and waiting at this point in the race, and that's a big mistake there from Madison. That's a slide. That gives Brimblecombe a good run as they head up the hill and head towards Portimao corner, and they head through the right-hander. Will Brimblecombe go late on the brakes? No, he won't here in the Ford Mustang. It's not the greatest place to go for an overtake unless you're really, really close, as we go on board with a Ford Mustang for the first time since its arrival, the first time this season, and that Ferrari in front of King has made a massive mistake. That invites Madison right into it to try and go for a move as they head towards the straight. Just on the power now goes Madison behind King. He has the run. All he has to do is get a good final corner just over the crest. Don't lift the front nose too much. And now power down the sensational straight. And in the slipstream he goes, but he's not too close to the Ferrari this time round. That gap is 0.4 of a second. He'll need an absolutely mighty run down the straight, but Brimblecombe is actually going to go down the inside of turn 1. The Mustang using its legs in a straight line, and he goes down the inside. It's a switchback now from Madison, who tried to get away back down the inside. Will he go back down the inside of the hairpin? No, he won't, but the Mustang showing its straight line speed prowess here in LMU, as if we weren't already used to it from ACC racing.
Oh, definitely cracking stuff. And while that has happened, the leader of the hypercars is the first man to blink. That is Matthew Lamb. He is straight in. The lead up of the race is already in the pits, so I'm not sure what strategy he's going for. Only been 14 minutes of racing so far, and that has released Harry Lawrence straight out into the lead, and he's making his way around some traffic, so maybe a bit of strategical masterclass there from Lamb, knowing that these guys are going to be caught up in all this nonsense, and Paul Britt's right there with him too. This is what happens when you get into the lap traffic, guys. It all starts to come up to a bit of a boiling point, and maybe you absolutely implode by trying to get around these cars. I think Matthew Lamb's done a masterclass over it, and there is the man himself. He has got the job done. Paul Britt's out of this one, and I'm not sure where he went there. He spun, did he?
Yeah, in the background of the camera shot, he got hit by a GT3 or hit a GT3 and spun off. I just saw it in the background of the camera shot, but it was pretty tricky to see. But yeah, he spun over the crest. That's why I started yelling his name. He started tumbling down the order, and I just saw the Peugeot go absolutely flying off the side of the road.
But nonetheless, that is what racing is about. That's what happens when you get into GT3s. I missed it completely. But that is where Paul Britt sits 10th overall in his class now, fighting for the lead, and 10th. And that is all it takes. One corner, one air up from someone else on the track who's a bit slower, and it can ruin your race. But there's still plenty of time for him, so that's okay. Hani Kuri has got through most of these GT3 cars. He's about to get past Ash Johnston, so he's done that well. Next up the road is Tyson Robbs, who is, mind you, 8.6 seconds quicker than anyone else in his class. So a bit of a release here for Hani Kuri to start getting the wheels well and truly turned and get that delta right back up where it should be, because Matthew Lamb is still driving the wheels off this car and in a lot of free air at the moment. He's come in with free air, and now he's come out with some free air. This could be the best pit stop strategy I reckon I've ever seen. If these guys do decide to come in within the next 3 or 4 laps in the hypercar class, this man is the one that will be well and truly in the lead at this stage. But nonetheless, it's racing everywhere at the moment. Ty and Vintner right neck and neck with each other, because they've got more GT3 cars. They've got Herod and Shorty Madison to battle through here. Very, very tight double right-hander to get through. Are they going to do it? Oh, Stephen Ty just driven into the side of him. Just said, bugger you, mate. I'm getting right out of here if you can, or hurry up, because that was some sort of signalling. Tell you what, the guys out in the Himalayas would have seen that from Mount bloody Kosciuszko here, if that was a flame torch, to give you the hot tip. But nonetheless, Stephen Ty has made it through somehow unscathed. So is Benny Vintner in front of him. They're still trying to navigate their way around these GT3 cars. In between a Porsche and a Mustang now is Vintner. He's side by side with the Porsche, got it through. So is Stephen Ty now. He's going to have to get right out of the way. There is Ash Johnston too, because this track is now shared well and truly with hypercars and GT3s. And there is Dylan King in front of him. So now they're trying to navigate their way around the best part of the circuit to do it. Dylan King on the racing line has no obligation to get out of the way. He's racing his own race. The hypercars can just sail away, and down the front straight away they go. Wowee, this is fifth and sixth we're looking at here in terms of battling. They're 8/10 away from each other. Chandra now is right all over the suck train here of Chris Weitzel. Chris Weitzel's going to have to go defensive here, and he does. He's got two GT3s to pass in one corner. Oh, that's disaster. They've come bumping and shining, and there goes Shawnee Madison. He's been the worst one out of that. Oh, no, and there's another one in front of him. I think that was, who was that in front? Was that Paul Britt again? It is Paul Britt, who's come a proper twice within 3 laps trying to navigate his way around GT3 cars. His old class there, not giving him anything on the track. That is disaster, Lindsay Buttle. Wowee, action packed here trying to navigate through Portimao.
Yeah, this track showing very tricky with lapped traffic, and that is not what the hypercars will want at all. But a lot of the time, it looks like they're just getting a little bit too impatient. It's a very high-speed track with a lot of places for the GT3 cars to just really be a lot slower than them, and that's what's creating the challenge here. And Vintner is looking down the inside, but he isn't able to go down the inside, but they have more GT3 traffic in front of them. It's one car they should be able to negotiate past, but it's all kicking off here in the hypercar class as they make their way through the long left-hander. That is Tyson Robbs. I believe that they have to make their way around as the Porsche goes very late down the inside. Vintner is just going to focus on the exit, make sure he gets a good run onto the straight, and now he's right in the hunt for an overtake here on the Porsche as he makes his way through the right-hander. He's trying to make his way past Stephen Ty as they head down the straight towards Primera, towards turn 1, and he's not going to be close enough this time around, but it's been absolutely fantastic from these two through the lap traffic period, and what carnage that was through the lap period. There was contact and door banging left, right and centre, and also GT3s just not really knowing where to go. It's a single file circuit almost until you get to the straight. So difficult to go side by side here, as meanwhile in the GT3 class there is a hypercar getting involved here down the inside of Johnston at the fast right-hander, and now is he going to go down the inside of the Ferrari at the hairpin? No, he won't go down the inside of King as they make their way up the hill. That's when he'll decide to make the move. This puts Brimblecombe, the hairbrush, right on the back of Johnston as the Mustang trying to stretch its legs in a straight line, but it's not going to be close enough this time around. But there's more hypercars inbound to their location on the racetrack. I do believe this is Brocky now trying to get past them as they head up the hill towards turn 7 and turn 8, but this traffic proving ever so tricky. No, it's Guerrero in the Alpine hypercar as he heads up through Samsung corner. That's a big snap from the Ferrari of King, and will this invite Johnston into it? I don't think so, but the traffic really causing some problems as Brimblecombe is so close behind Johnston as they go side by side briefly up the hill. But yeah, this is absolutely fantastic racing all round.
Oh, definitely cracking stuff from everyone on board. LMP's GT3s getting a hypercar, sorry, getting in the way of each other. It's always fun as a spectator. Not so fun when you're in the cockpit. I'll give you the hot tip. Cursing and shouting and having an absolute blue with your own mental battleground, and maybe shouting at the other drivers to get out of the way. But nonetheless, these guys are driving very, very nicely. It is a high-speed circuit, so it is hard for people to pass. Don't forget that, ladies and gents. It is hard. But nonetheless, these guys will keep themselves in check. And it's looking like now Ash Johnston has got a very, very good run indeed on Dylan King. They're going to get the suck down the sensational straight. The sensational suck straight, if you don't mind. But he's not going to go for a move here at the moment. He's going to get Dylan King on the next corner. He's outbraked each other, have the both of them, because here comes Brimblecombe. If these guys keep battling, the hairbrushes right into this. And Johnston, very aggressive on the brakes. He's touched Dylan King, and Shawnee Brimblecome's into the back. Then they've punted each other once more, as here comes Nathan Wilson in the hypercar class, and then you got Herod and Spinazzi too in the GT3s, all there now. So this is going to be from P2 all the way down to P6. A battle here for the jockeys. Who's going to take it? Herod's around the outside on the disadvantageous side of the circuit. Johnson's going to try and go up the inside now. They're going to come together, at least a little bit of door banging maybe. Johnson on the slide out of the corner. Dylan King survives somehow out of all of that. Ash Johnson, perpetrator of it. But nonetheless, now we've got 6 cars in a good old-fashioned tussle here. Spinazzi at the back looking at these guys going, keep going. And here comes Brocky as well, the man who puts on the show for everyone here. He's trying to navigate through this very, very angry battle pack. What can Brocky do? Oh, geez, Spinazzi just going for the defensive on there on Brocky. Bit of a tussle going on off circuit, I reckon, post race with the stewards. Number 35, Alpine of Greg Brock, just trying to get around the outside. Does so. What is Herod now doing? He is right there. He's not too far away from Dylan King. But that is separated himself with King and Johnston by 1 car now. So he's got to go back to the drawing board, there's Ash Johnson. He may have got a bit hot and heavy under the helmet to punt old Dylan King with a very aggressive move on this lap. But nonetheless, we've got 3 cars battling it out here. Has Herod got a good run there on Dylan? It looks like he's got half a chance here to get it done. Can he keep it through the very partial flat-out section in a GT3 car? He's going to get a good run here down the front straightaway. Now we're seeing a bit of suck battle as Brocky goes past in the hypercars. Look at the pace difference, but now it's all up to Herod. Herod's got the run. He has got the suck. He hasn't shown the nose yet. What can he do? Is he going to get that job done coming into turn 1? No. Dylan King very nicely under brakes there, but so was Herod. Herod edging so closer. The 777 of the Asaban. Oh, he's going to do it. Ash Johnson's up the inside. No, he's not. He's just managed to keep it out of the back end of Dylan King. Holy cow, I reckon Dylan's thinking a bit of Groundhog Day action coming my way here for the rest of them. But nonetheless, they all survive again. It is Dylan King versus Matthew Herod versus Ash Johnson versus Spinazzi a little bit further back, but all separated here by an average of 0.4 of a second. This is the GT3 racing we all come to see and love to watch.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and what a spectacle this has been so far. And we're only 23 minutes into the racing action as Spinazzi is trying to look for a move on Johnston as Harry Lawrence comes into the pit lane now, just over 20 minutes into this race. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Matthew Lamb, who's approaching the back of the GT3 traffic. This could be fun. Matthew Lamb now has what the other cars around him had a couple of laps ago as he now heads up towards the chaos, the carnage of the GT3 traffic. We've seen the best of it. We've seen the worst of it so far. What can our provisional leader do now in Portugal as he approaches Madison, who's had such an unfortunate turn of events in this race, but they are clawing their way back behind the hairbrush and back into that fight as now Matthew Lamb on the back of the Corvette. He'll fly by. He's just picking his moment like a true professional, just going by when it really counts. So here's Weitzel on the exit of the pit lane. He's exiting turn 1 now, and is that ahead of Matthew Lamb? I do think it is, as he makes his way towards turn 1, and he passes one GT3 of Herod, and now next up on his list is King. And I think that maybe for Matthew Lamb, the early pit stop did not work. He's not ended up even in front of the car that we just saw coming out of the pits of Chris Weitzel.
No, not at all. With Weitzel well and truly down. Wilson's also come into the pits there too. So it's Weitzel now who is provisionally leading this pack, because Hanekuri has not gone in at all. He's still circulating around there in the hypercar class himself. So Lamb in provisional second at this moment. Don't know where they're going to come out in the grand scheme of things, but Lamb has got past Dylan King now, so he's been released. He's got a little bit of time in front of him. He's only got 2.8 seconds between himself and the hairbrush. You can just see the rear wing of Shawnee Brimblecomb's car in the distance there as well. The Mustang ever getting so closer for Matthew Lamb, but nonetheless, Chris Weitzel is the man in the lead here, and by a good margin too, Lindsay Muddle. You can see where Weitzel is on there. He's got 4 seconds as well, but then way behind him is Matthew Lamb, about 5 or 6 corners, I would say, by the time we get around to it all. So a great strategy there. That's going to help Chris Weitzel in the end with the tyres too, don't you mind? When it comes to that, the tyre life is now at least 3 or 4 laps better than Matthew Lamb, who was in the lead too. So keep that in the back of your heads, viewers. That is where it's all going to come down to it. And it's all still happening. There is battles up and down the grid here at the moment. Look at the Shawnee Madison. He's not getting rid of Spinazzi in front of him. He's trying to take that position, in fact, and I think he's got half a good run here down onto the front straightaway. The Simsatial Straight coming up the hill in just a moment, ladies and gents, Has Shawnee Madison got a good run? No, we've just seen a car dart off into the pits there as well. Wilson's had a DNF also there on your screen for 24th, so he's counted out. That was Matthew Herod, who's come into the pits for the GT3. So the first, now the GT3 cars coming in to the pit lane to see what they can do. What is Herod going to see when he comes out? Who knows? He could be in a sandwich of hypercars, or he could be in clean air. It's all up to these guys. They all want to know what they're doing. Then they pit stop strategy themselves into the best place on the track when they think they possibly can get an undercut going on. What is going to happen there for Matthew Herod? We will soon find out. But these guys here on screen, Spinazzi versus Shawnee Madison, the closest battle on the track. If you don't believe it, this is where it is at the moment in the GT3. So have not let us down tonight, Lindsay Muddle. It's been sensational to watch these cars drive around, and a bit of new cars, old cars sort of scenario. They're not disappointing.
Yeah, it has been absolutely sensational between all of the GT3 class tonight, and the hypercar class not letting up either. Curie and Colombo are only 4/10 separated around the lap at the moment. We've seen a little bit of strategy play out, but we know that Weitzel, we think, is the provisional leader from Matthew Lamb, but we know that Weitzel had cars in front of him as well, so that could change the complexion of this race entirely. Any car that was in front of him, I'd expect to still come out in front of him. And speaking of, Harry Lawrence has already made a pit stop, and he's in fifth. He's well clear of the provisional lead. I completely forgot about that factor as we head towards the 33-minute mark. Harry Lawrence currently... No, he hasn't made a stop. Then he's down in P5. I swear I saw him come into the pit lane.
Doesn't matter. That's all that matters. The pit box.
He hasn't come in.
He hasn't come in. We know that Weitzel and Lamb have definitely come in.
Must have made a mistake then.
Oh, that's all right, mate. Even the experts make some mistakes. Don't you stress about that. But nonetheless, Matthew Lamb is still showing on my timing tower as 1 lap down behind Chris Weitzel. So I'm not sure if we're getting the correct information there from our timing towers, so to speak. There goes Hani Curry. He's gone straight past Shawnee Madison there. He's like, oh no, they've all come together. What happened there? I can't believe it, what my eyes are seeing. Was that, where is Curry? Has he come back onto the track? Somehow he is still off, and he's just managed to get himself back on. And that was, who was that in the Mustang? Was that, I can't see who it is on my screen. But nonetheless, that was a disaster. They came together. That was something weird there that happened between Spinazzi and Curry. They sort of didn't touch, and then we saw a Mustang go AWOL, and then so did Hani Curry. So a very, very bad moment, and that's lost Hani Curry, the leader of the race. Colombo is now effectively a leader, but he has got Latanzio right behind him. 0.3 of a second now between the leaders here on track at this point in time in the hypercar class, and they've got Dylan Kingdom navigate. They've done that very, very nicely indeed. The Peugeot versus Ferrari here. We've got the two Europeans having a good crack at each other. Latanzio seems to have found some pace in the end of this. Peugeot versus Colombo. Driving very, very nicely here. Keeping his nose clean, I would say, is the ticket here at Portimao, because we've seen some hypercars get into some tussles a la Paul Britt, and he's way down there in 7th place. A fair way off any battling pack there as well for position. So it is all about keeping your nose clean, ladies and gents, and Colombo and Latanzio have seemed to have done that very, very well so far. But effectively, this man again, Chris Weitzel, is in the pits. One more time, Lindsay Muddle. What are we seeing here?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what is going on.
Did he speed?
Yeah, maybe so. I have seen a couple penalty prompts pop up throughout this race, but I wasn't quite sure if they were accurate or not. And actually, that would explain quite a lot, because I saw Lawrence pop up with a penalty on the timing tower at one point before he did drop to 5th and make a run through the pit lane. Maybe he served a drive-through or something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure. There's a lot of unknown in this race, I think. A lot of uncertainty as to where everybody's stacking up at the moment. All we know is that Weitzel and Lamb are the only two cars in the hypercar class, according to the timing tower, to actually come into the pit lane, as there's a bit of traffic carnage going on at the moment as they make their way past the Corvette, and now they're side by side, Harry Lawrence and Vintner, as they make their way through the hairpin, and now they drag race towards turn 7 and turn 8. Who's going to come out in front here? It is going to be Vintner, and now will the Ferrari of Chandra try find his way past Harry Lawrence as well? No, he won't. He doesn't quite have the run at the moment, but it's all kicking off here in the Algarve. The hypercar class really starting to heat up here with half the race still to go, and there's still GT3 traffic in front of him. That is the Ferrari of King that they're all negotiating their way past, and now Vintner is down the inside once again of the Cadillac of Lawrence, and now he's round around the outside in the BMW. Can he pull the move off for 4th position on the road? And can he hold on to the place? And now the Cadillac, the long way round goes Lawrence. He'll run out of road. And now it invites Chandra with a good exit to have a run on Harry Lawrence as they round the final corner now for a fighting chance for the 4th position on the track. Vintner has it right now, and it looks like Chandra is going to now try go for the 5th position as they make their way down towards turn 1. Cadillac versus Ferrari, and it looks like Lawrence defending the inside. Chandra forced a long way round, and he's alongside at the apex, and they run out of road on the outside as they still go side by side into the braking zone now. But Eric Chandra really trying to put up a fight here. This is a cracking three-way battle, and now they have a Mustang of Brimblecombe in front of them as well.
Oh, definitely. And now they get right at the perfect point to get past Brimblecombe as well. So they've done that very nicely. Oh, Chandra straight up the inside, taken more than he can bite off on the track. And he's definitely lost a lot of positions there. Nearly took out both of Vintner and Lawrence in front of him. But Lawrence has come out on top of that because Vintner right there had to get out of the way of an absolute torpedo style there. That was incredible stuff from Chandra. He nearly took everyone out there in that hairpin, but somehow everyone survived. I don't know how, but they did. Incredible stuff from the both of them, all the trio of them, to get avoidance in some sort of incident. But geez Louise, that was incredible to watch between the lot of them, as we can see them all starting to do a little bit of a half victory dance at the moment, because any position on the track here is like the best real estate in the street. They want the worst house in the best street, I'll tell you what, and that is where we've got some of these drivers coming out at the moment. Lawrence, Vintner and Chandra right there. Colombo, however, is leading, but not by a lot, because Latanzio and him are right neck and neck. They've got around Marsh there in the background there in the GD3 of Hayden, and now it's Colombo versus Latanzio side by side. Oh, that's nearly bumping and grinding in the Peugeot versus Ferrari again. They're at it now. Latanzio has got a better run. Is Colombo going to go defensive? He's gone right to the right hand side of the track there just to get it all sorted and covered off for the hairpin. Down here we go, right into a double apex left hand. Oh, they've touched wheels at the end, and that is Latanzio just getting a little bit of a nudge there, probably a little bit ambitious if you don't mind me saying that, on the track limits and car room is as such. Colombo was way out in front and had the limits of the track in his eye rather than the guy behind him. So race on once again. 0.7 of a second is the gap between these two, first and second on track. Wow, it's good stuff here to watch them all circulate around at this point in time. Can Latanzio do anything about it? Is there strengths and weaknesses between these two drivers on the track? I'm not too sure. I reckon Latanzio at the moment will be nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, knowing that that P1 could effectively be his once they come around to the pit stops. We've seen a couple of double-ended up pit stops there, and the sheep there, albeit a lap down at the moment with himself and Chris Weitzel. Right at the back of the field there, the race leader was Lamb at the start. Bit of a recap. Lamb took it from the start. It was under a little bit of pressure and got a bit of a three-way battle coming his way, but now he's right at the back with an early pit stop. Tyson Robbs has led from start to now in the GD3 class, and look at the gap he has got between anyone and himself. He's got 13.5 seconds over Shawnee Brimblecombe in second place. We have seen a pit stop or two come our way from the GD3 cars, and it was Herod who came in as well for his position. We can't see him on the screen there, but Matthew Herod has pitted. And then we also saw there, so did Marsh with one DNF, and that is Nathan Wilson in the hypercar class. So we've got 12 hypercars on track, and then 11 GD3s left here to go. Wowee, what's racing are we going to see yet? We've got 25 minutes and 51 seconds left, and it is still going on. It's kicking off everywhere. There's battlegrounds up and down the field. Paul Britt is trying to come back and make his way through the field on Vintner. He has gone from all the way to third, down to 10th, down to 9th, then back up to 10th as Paul Britt, and now he finds himself here in 6th place, trying to get the chockies over Vintner. Now it's on BMW versus Peugeot, and these two now know exactly where each other sit on the track. Paul Britt in the class of his own at the moment, driving the wheels off this Peugeot, second best on the track. Latanzio right there. Looks like the Portimao circuit, Lindsay, is a benefactor here for Peugeot drivers.
Yeah, it's looking really strong for a lot of the drivers in the Peugeot, and that's late down the inside from Paul Britt. Nearly pulled up alongside Vintner. What a move that would have been if he did get alongside, but not quite enough. But yeah, looking really strong for Latanzio and Britt at the moment, and they're still continuing to push along in this race with 25 minutes to go. And as they fight away now for 6th position, can Britt put the pressure on to Ben Vittner as they head on to the next lap of this race over the very crested final corner, and now on to the straight down towards Primera, towards turn 1 they go. They're going to drag race, but the BMW, it looks like it has the upper hand just slightly in a straight line, as there is the virtual energy for a lot of these drivers. You can see they're under 50%, except for Matthew Lamb, who has just enough to get to the end. But that's really interesting, that graphic. I'm not sure if any of these, I don't think any of these drivers are going to be able to get to the end, including Chris Weitzel, who we know has come into the pit lane twice and still only has 31% left on his battery. That's really intriguing. I'm not sure if that will be enough to get to the end as Britt locks up as he tried to just dummy the inside on Ben Vittner as they still battle away as they head towards turn 7. He doesn't have a run alongside, but it's just all about playing that patient game and waiting for the driver in front of you to crack. But right now, with all the moves, with all the no stickings, he's trying to put down the inside, just trying to get alongside the BMW. He's making mistakes of his own, which is not making his life easy whatsoever. That lockup will put a big flat spot onto that front tyre as Paul Britt heads through the long right-hander, and now they dive down through the compression, through the left-hander, and still the Peugeot chasing tail as they head over the crest through the slow but understeery left-hander, and now heading towards the penultimate corner to begin another lap. Is Paul Britt close enough, or will he get a good run onto the straight this time around? Will he try and get a move done in that cockpit of the Peugeot? He's trying as hard as he can to hunt for a move as he heads down the straight now in the slipstream. He's gaining just a little bit. Is it going to be enough down towards turn number 1 as they head through the medium speed right-hander, and Paul Britt does get a great run. He's nearly pushing Vittner, and it's late on the brakes and down the inside from the Peugeot. Now he has the run up the hill the long way around. Vittner still has a nose alongside. There's door banging there between the two hypercars, but Paul Britt getting the move done.
Oh, cracking driving from the both of them. Race pace and awareness all in their sight. And it's going to be interesting. You can see now the battery difference. Paul Britt has only got 23% left in the tanks, and that is a very, very bad deficit to have in that position. In fact, I think he's got the second worst all over the grid from these hypercars. They're not going to have enough to go to the end, I don't think, Lindsay Muddle, unless they really, really decide to take the foot off the pace pedal as well. We're not too sure what we're going to see, but nonetheless, it's still Lamb right at the back there. So I reckon that lap down is something that happened in his pits. But nonetheless, we have got a race on our hands, ladies and gents. 26%, 24, and 23 are your top three, with the mid to low 20 sort of average between the rest of them on the field. Maybe Lamb's just going for a last lap send, if you don't mind, on everyone else. That could be something to do with the long game strategy that we saw with him coming right out of it at the start. But nonetheless, that is something to behold. Look at this battle here. Shawnee Madison, however, has got himself into third place, taken over Dylan King just like that, taking candy from a baby style. He's got that job done into the podium positions now here for Shawnee Madison. Great driving from him in the Corvette, really putting it at its paces. He gets better as the racing goes on to Shawnee Madison. He is like a slow cooked lamb roast in the oven. I'll tell you what, he just gets better with time. Even maybe some pasta that Nono cooked overnight tastes better the next day. I'll give you the hot tip. And that is Shawnee Madison in third place. He's got 8.6 seconds between himself and taking a hairbrush's second position off him. But still, with 21 odd minutes left here in the race, it's plenty of time for us to see where they all come into the fruition side of things. Dylan King right behind him, not too far off, and the next closest battle on the track is back here. 7th overall in the hypercar class. It's Lachlan Andrews versus Matthew Herod in the Aston Martin versus BMW. Two long-nosed coupes, and very different. Look at that. I'll tell you what, Hanny Curry just said, nah, buggy, I'm going right through on Lachlan Andrews. Nearly came together, but that's okay. Out of that unscathed, and that's released Matthew Herod. It was 0.6 of a second. Now it is all of a sudden 1.3 seconds. One navigation between yourself and a hypercar in the wrong place. That is all it takes, ladies and gents. And the battle has not gone away. I'll tell you what, Shawnee Madison is a little bit weaker in some sections of the circuit compared to Dylan King. So we've got to watch out for these two. You could have something to behold coming to the end of the race if they are neck and neck coming around the final corner. You would like to see a photo finish for the top step on the podium at this rate, Lindsay Muddle. That would be fantastic. But the battle at the front here has come to fruition once again. Colombo versus Latanzio, Lindsay. This is exciting.
Yeah, it really is, and we've seen these two go hammer and song previously as they make their way around the lap and here in Portugal. It's so close together, and Latanzio just trying to put the pressure on to the car in front as they head through turn 7, up through turn 8 now, and Latanzio through the right-hander does get a good run. That gap is closing just a little bit. The gap around 0.8 of a second at the moment. He'll need to do a little bit more closing to Colombo in front of him if he is going to really put the pressure on to make a move with under 20 minutes to go here in the Algarve. It is going to be really hard-pressed racing between the two of these drivers to really scrap it away, but that's live. Very wide, from Colombo as Latanzio is trying to pressure Colombo as they round through this final sector and the penultimate corner. That gap has came down about 1/10 of a second, but now it extends back out as they head into the traction zone and round the final corner now. Latanzio 7/10, so he did close a little bit on that lap, and now he's closing more and more and more, and there's traffic now to get involved as well. The GT3s are right in the mix of this battle, so this really spices things up here in the hypercar class as Colombo goes down the inside. No, not quite, of the Ferrari, and next up as well as the Corvette. So traffic really playing a role here in the hypercar fight up the front for the P1 places. Latanzio clears the Ferrari of I forget which Ferrari it is. I'm forgetting my GT3 names here. Zach O'Reilly, help me out.
I've forgotten even myself, but I know that's Shorty Madison that they've got right past as well. So clear of the GT3 traffic. Yeah, we've got it back. We're back on track here in the Sensational commentary box. But nonetheless, Latanzio versus Colombo. Very, very good driving. How did Muhammad get into second place? Did Le Mans Ultimate ask? Well, that's a beggar's belief. Just clean driving by the sound of it at this point in time. Cracking racing from them all, though. Only a second is the gap between Latanzio and Colombo. This is your lead of the race, ladies and gents. And we know that the virtual energy is creeping down ever so slowly. And it's just getting to that point where people will be starting to think about what they want to do. How are they going to navigate that side of things in their racing brain? So not only they've got to drive, they've got to steer, they've got to push the brake and the throttle pedal and use their optic nerve, but they've also got to use their brain on where they're going to be in the grand scheme of things by the end of it. The GT3 cars have nothing to think about in that side of things. They just go look at the fuel racing and go, oh, well, bugger it, we'll just keep racing and hope they've got enough fuel to the end. But that's the difference between the hypercars. They're quick, and they're quick for a reason. They've got both. They've got internal and battery sitting there ready to rock and roll for them. So it's good. Good racing indeed. But look at this. Harry Lawrence now on the back here of Hanny Curry. Hanny Curry's had a night to behold, I'll tell you that much as well. But Lawrence also trying to claw his way back through this field. And third place is in his real estate. He's got the deposit ready to go, just waiting for the auctioneer to put the hammer down and say sold on that third position here for Harry Lawrence. But can he get it done? He's got a little bit of a better run. Oh, just a bit taily on the exit there, but that has actually helped him. Hanny Curry on the defence early into the sharp left-hander. Down the hill we go, but he's overshot the brake marker as Hanny, and I think Lawrence is going to have a good crack at him here. He's going to look from the double right-hander coming our way. He's going to think twice, though, because he is a clean racer at the best of times. Harry Lawrence sticks the nose in a bit early. He's going to run wide there onto the red stuff as well, not the black stuff. Then he tries to cut it right in and get a bit of a run up the hill. But I'll tell you what, that is one quick customer in front of him in Harry Curry. I'll give you the hot tip. They're not letting go of each other. It is Porsche versus Cadillac here at the moment. That Cadillac looking very, very strong. And now we've got some more GT3 cars to navigate. So it's all up to Hanny Curry to get past them quickly. He's got the best seat in the house to do so. He's getting held up here at the moment. I'll give you a hot tip. There's Dylan King sitting there as well. Not very nice to be in the way of that. Oh, that's Hayden Marsh, sorry. And then we've got the hairbrush there too. Now Hanny Curry's had to check up and get on the loud pedal to get past the hairbrush. And he's got so... They got done so nicely there. Can't even speak tonight. But nonetheless, Harry Lawrence versus Hanny Curry. Trying the wheels off these cars. Driving them to the nth degree. And here comes Lawrence into the pits. So, here we go. 15 minutes and 16 seconds left as he enters the pit lane. There's Harry Lawrence. Now we're going to see some strategical masterclasses come into fruition, Lindsay Battle. It all heats up here at the end of Portimao. Wowee.
Yeah, and we should expect more cars into the pit lane. 15 minutes to go, as you said, Zach O'Reilly, and now we see Colombo and Latunzio, Curry and Britt still out the front with 16% virtual battery for Colombo, 14 for Latunzio, 11 for Curry, and 11 for Britt, and 16 for Vintner. I don't think that's going to be enough to make it to the end. It'll be mighty close for these drivers if they can pull off the no-stop strategy, which we've seen Harry Lawrence do before in Interlagos. It could be game on up the front, but it's going to be a very hard task and take a lot of very, very good battery management or virtual energy management to make it to the end. And they're still battling away out the front as Colombo and Latunzio fairly close together. Chandra sitting in a bit of no man's land here in the Ferrari 499P. Not any cars very, very close around him as he makes a run on the exit of the hairpin. He's just in no man's land, as I said, and that's a pretty reasonable place to be in on the circuit as they make their way through the double right-hander. Chandra is pushing. He is down, but not by much, and he has no traffic, no anything around him at the moment, and considering he will have some tyre wear on that Ferrari, it's not bad, and he is actually improving, so the clean air proving helpful, and that puts him in a reasonable spot in this race. But he does have a Ford Mustang ahead of him as they head through the third sector. I do believe that could be the Mustang. No, it's not Brimblecombe. He's in the blue car. It would be Spinazzi, I do believe, in the Ford Mustang that he is approaching, and then he'll have more around him further up the road. But there's 13 minutes to go. Latunzio is now the driver we're watching on with, and Colombo is just up the road in the Ferrari, and they will battle away for the race victory. Maybe an onboard with Latunzio could give you a sense here of how close it is together, but actually Colombo has pulled away in the past few laps, but all it takes is one mistake, and there is a mistake there from Colombo trying to push away from Latunzio, and as he makes more and more mistakes with 12 minutes just over to go, this race is well and truly going to be on as Latunzio now goes wide.
Oh, there's no way these guys are going to get to the end, Lindsay Muddle. We're on battery watch here, ladies and gents. If you're wondering what the percentages are, I'll tell you what, it's energy watch if you call it the real term, but nonetheless, 8, 7, and 9. That's all that's left for Curry, Britt, and Chandler. They've got to come into the pits soon. As Greg Brock's come into the pits, he's out of it. But nonetheless, I've been watching by time, my quick math, 2 + 2 is 4, quick math, in the back of my brain, and I just can't see them getting to the end here. It's going down a percent at a rate of knots here for the rest of them. So could this be a Harry Lawrence masterclass coming our way? Oh, we could be on for something here, and he's closed this gap. This gap was 8 seconds between himself and Eric Chandra, between himself and 6th and 7th. So now he's got plenty of battery left to go. So does Greg Brock too. He's got 24% in the tank. He's timed that perfectly if he's followed Harry Lawrence's strategy. Wowee, they're driving very nicely too, as well as Greg Brock. Cracking to see him inside the top 10 for his first go in the hypercars. But nonetheless, this man on your screen pulled off a 7th position to 1st at Interlagos last season in the night, if you don't mind, just by absolutely preserving his tyres and the energy at the same time. Took it off Alex K by about 5 or 6 seconds. He was on for a P6, and then all of a sudden P1. So this guy knows what he's doing. Latunzio is at 9%. Hanny Curry is at 6%. Jeez Louise, 5% now for Paul Britt too. It's all over. These guys have to come in. There's no chance. They're not going to win anything or keep any positions, but that is what we're looking at in the hypercar class. They're all very, very spread out in fact at the moment. But I'll tell you what, the hairbrush has just come out of the pits himself, so even the GT3s have got some pitting to do here for fuel with 10 minutes and 51 seconds to go. That is where it is. Brimblecomb's come out in front of Ash Johnston there, so look out. Ash Johnston is all but a lap down at the moment on himself, so not a position gain here for Johnston, unfortunately. Brimblecomb's just going to have to get out and start racing and ignore that car behind him, because his guy in front of him is Matthew Herod in that Aston Martin, coming down to the final hairpin and getting that job done. Tyson Robbs is all but 38 seconds clear of anyone else in front of him. Wowee, that is a absolute barnstormer of a lead there. I cannot believe that, Lindsay Muddle, but it's all happening between the hypercars at the front. That is where the action will be come 5 minutes time, I reckon.
Yeah, and Tyson Robbs has just been an absolute gun. Even since qualifying, he was 9/10 clear of the second place car. What a pacey driver he is. Honestly, it would be worth considering maybe a step up into the hypercar class to see if he could challenge the likes of the drivers we're seeing up the front, and even in qualifying, such as the Porsche of Matthew Lamb, or even Alex Kay when he returns. I know that they've battled on track many times before, and Tyson can sometimes, and usually actually, will get the better of him. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes in the hypercar class against the best of the best. But in the GT3 class at the moment, there's some very quick drivers, and he still continues to stand out above the rest. And it has been absolutely phenomenal to see. With under 10 minutes to go now, all he has to do is cruise home in that Ford Mustang, and Colombo currently leading by 2 seconds over Latanzio for the lead of this race. But surely, and not even surely, they will have to pit. They don't have enough virtual energy in their cars to get to the end of the race, as Harry Lawrence, now in 7th position, is all over the back of Eric Chandra for the 6th place. And with the cars in front not having a lot of virtual energy left, they'll have to pit soon, and Harry Lawrence will be in prime position to try and snatch a win in the dying stages once again, as Curie now into the pit lane, Paul Britt now into the pit lane. It's all materializing right in front of our eyes here with 8 minutes 40 to go in Portugal. So let's see where Harry Lawrence comes out, but without a shadow of a doubt, he will come out in front of Curie and Britt as he rounds the final corner. Paul Britt actually already on the move again. This could be close on the pit exit as we watch to the Cadillac, and now he's making his way down the straight towards turn 1. He's gonna fly through, and he is gonna move up in front of Curie and Britt as he makes his way through the turn 1, 2 and 3 complex. Harry Lawrence with an absolute masterclass of a strategy at the moment, with Vintner, Latanzio and Colombo having 6%, 4% and 6% respectively left in their cars. And you'd have to think that this is going to go Lawrence's way in the dying stages due to a pit stop, much like round 1 last season.
Oh, geez, incredible. This is Groundhog Day at a different circuit. Wow, Harry Lawrence driving very, very nicely. He's only got 17% left now, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful too by the end of it. But the top 3 in front of them, the gaps between them, ladies and gents, is 20. It's 19 seconds between Harry Lawrence to Ben Vintner in 3rd, and then it's 21 seconds between Vintner to Latanzio, and Colombo as well in front by 8 seconds now as Latanzio's come into the pits. So we'll bring up the leader board. That is the correct starting, and you can see that Latanzio has pitted. He is now sitting there. It is Harry Lawrence on watch that we want to look at. Latanzio is still sitting there. He's come off the jacks now. He's going to have to sit there for another couple of minutes, a couple of seconds, because he's got to go back up, and then he'll come back down again. And now he's underway. Where's Harry Lawrence in the grand scheme of things? He is coming up the sensational straight just about now. He's onto the final corner. Where is Latanzio going to come out? He is at pit exit. Where is Harry Lawrence coming? He's flying down the front straightaway here at the moment. Latanzio is just exited at this point in time. We're going to ride on board to see what they look like as they come into T1. Oh, this is close indeed. Have a look at the gaps there between. There is Harry Lawrence, and it's Latanzio who's come out in front of the man we thought was going to take P1, but he's on a different strategy here now too. These guys are not going to let go of each other. This is the battle of the Titans here for the rest of them. Hanny Kuri's come into the pits as well, so he's out of this one too. But it's up to Colombo, who is 25 seconds out in front. Has he got enough energy left to go? I'm sure he's just about out. He's on 4% at the moment. So is Benny Vintner. So they're done and dusted, but the battle is still happening. Lawrence versus Latanzio is on like Donkey Kong. Literally side by side, neck and neck, coming into the double left-hander our way. Right-hander, sorry. These guys are driving the wheels off this thing. Harry Lawrence has gone wide too. So that's released Latanzio. Just that little bit of pressure and pace difference between the two of them. Wow, way into the pits comes Mr. Colombo in Muhammad. He is right out there in front, but he is sitting there, standing still, absolutely hoping that he can come out in front with enough energy with 5 minutes and 43 seconds odd left in the tank for him to keep going. He is just about to stop into his box now as these guys are around the back half of the circuit. Vintner, however, has gone around one more time. With 3% left, he is out of this one, ladies and gents. There is no way in hell, unless he just pulls off to the side and just pedals his way home, there is no chance that he's going to get into second place. Prove me wrong. here in the sensational TV department. But Lawrence versus Latanzio is a cracking battle. There goes Vintano, I think, into the pits. Oh, that was a car. No, that was Chris Weitzel. No, it was Ben Vinder in the pits as well. So he is there. Harry Lawrence has got past Vintner in the pits. Latanzio as well. Colombo still out in front with 9 laps, or 9% of energy here left in the race with 4 minutes 56 left to go. Who is going to take this one for the Chockies? And we've got GT3 cars in the way. Lindsay, call it away.
Yeah, and that is the number one question. Can they catch Colombo? Cold tyres are a big factor, but the GT3s are a bigger factor here as Harry Lawrence and Latanzio negotiate past the Mustang and the Ferrari GT3 cars. It's very wide. Goes Latanzio. The tyre's still a little bit too cold on the Peugeot, and now Lawrence has a run up the hill, and they head into the fast right-hander. They're nearly making contact on the apex. The nose got well and truly chopped off there of Latanzio, but Harry Lawrence getting back up to where he qualified in this race over 60 minutes ago at this point, since he set his qualifying lap, and now he's back into second place. But I think Colombo has made a masterclass as now Latanzio makes advantage of a mistake there from Harry Lawrence. Tried to get back down the inside, wasn't able to get it done, but it's not done yet for the P2 place, as well as they've clawed in 3 seconds to Colombo. That gap is still shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. It was 9 seconds out of the pit lane, and now it is only 5.9 seconds. So can Lawrence and Latanzio catch Colombo? It'll be a hard task. I'm not sure that they can, but they're going to give it everything from now until the checkered flag, whether it's for the P2 or just to close into P1. It's all on like Donkey Kong here with 3.5 minutes to go.
Oh, this is incredible stuff. Have a look at them now. You can see the energy. There is 10% left for Harry. He's used it up early. He's only got 3% more than Colombo, and Latanzio's got a bit in the bank left to go. So at this stage, it's not looking good for Latanzio. He just needed to stick right on the arse of Harry Lawrence there for the end of this race. Be within about 5 or 6 tenths, and now he's doubled that. He's 1.2 away with a bit of lap traffic coming in their way too. Now Harry Lawrence has just got to keep it clean and not do that, not understeer into the apex and then oversteer on exit. That's going to be a hairy scenario as he gets around Benny Collins there in the GT3 car. The Aston Martin there navigated beautifully. Now 9% left in battery with 2 minutes 48 to go. Colombo has put on a masterclass, but he's only 4 seconds up the road now. That gap has diminished, something chronic. It's half as what it was 2.5 laps ago. This is on here, ladies and gents, as Lindsay said, on like Donkey Kong here in the fair dinkum department. Colombo is going to be as nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs here, looking at that delta just creep ever so slightly down here. 4 seconds now. It is going to get Harry Lawrence to make sure he navigates his way around Phil Rando there in the Ferrari. Just does so nicely at the perfect point. Now we've got a bit of clean air in front for Harry Lawrence. What can he do? Paul Britt is out of the equation. He's going to have to settle for 4th if Latanzio does not come a proper here. But now this is the last sort of run of the dice. 4.2 seconds. Colombo's got 5% battery left. He's going to have to save it now and use it all on the last lap here if he's going to get around. And mind you, he's still got 2 more to go here with that timer at 1 minute 52 for him. That is still 1 lap and, well, 2 laps to go before the end of the race, Lindsay Muddle. This is down to the wire. Can Latanzio use that extra 7% he's got in the tank to maybe get himself further up the grid while these other guys are conserving? Who knows? 1 minute 35 to go, ladies and gents. It is absolutely on like Donkey Kong here in the hypercar class.
Yeah, and Harry Lawrence is still chasing tail to Colombo as maybe we can get the deltas back up, but we're still hawk-eyeing the battery at the moment as they negotiate the GT3 traffic. The gap 3.6 seconds. I think that it's a case of Colombo having to save virtual energy a lot more than he'd probably like as he's pushing up the road here as hard as he possibly can in the Ferrari 499P. And just look at the sector split. 6 tenths down in the first, 5 tenths down in the second, and there's still a whole sector to go here in Portugal. That gap is now 3.3, but I don't think that Lawrence is closing enough per lap. I do think the next time around will be the last lap. In fact, I'm sure of it, that it'll be the next lap, will be the final lap of this race. No matter what Lawrence does, it's going to be so interesting. It's going to be so close, but I think Colombo will take this out as there's 3.5 seconds between them as they head onto the final lap of this Portuguese Grand Prix. There's a yellow flag somewhere around the circuit. It's not anybody in the front train of the hypercar class, but Lawrence started P2. It looks like he's going to finish P2, but he's got one more almighty push to see if he can get P1, but I think the gap is too large, but it is closing. It's gone all the way down to 2.7 in the matter of 2 corners. It's all about different lines and exits, but still, he is closing that gap in. Latanzio as well, waiting in the wings. If Lawrence does make a mistake, this ending to this race in the hypercar class has been absolutely sublime. Supreme driving all the way around from start to finish in this 60-minute race, and it's still not done just yet. That gap 2.4 seconds, and I think it's a matter of what if. What if there was one more lap in this race? Colombo would be so close on fuel, and this would make it even more interesting. That gap is 2.3, but I think it's going to be a race of what ifs here for Harry Lawrence, as still Colombo, with one more sector to go, has 1.9 seconds, 1.6 seconds to the car in front. It's getting close, it really is, but I think the Colombo has just enough to hold on. He has 3 more corners on this lap to be crowned the victor to open the series.
Oh, geez, this is a cracking event, cracking finish here. 1.5 seconds is the gap. There was a lap traffic car getting out of the way nicely for the leader, and this is the man of the moment. Mohamed Colombo is going to take the win here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is your round 1 of season 2 LMU 60-minute sprint racing here. Done and dusted. It's absolutely sensational driving from Mohamed. Takes P1. Harry Lawrence, a gallant P2 there as well. That was some sensational driving by the rest of them. Let's quickly have a look at how much energy was left. We had 0.8 in the tank left there for Colombo. All at the end of it. Latanzio in 3rd place. Cracking drive from him in the Peugeot. And Paul Britt, it's a 3 and 4 for the Peugeots there as well. Great drive from Paul for his first go tonight. Hanny Curry, what could have been? He is still racing, but he's about to cross the finish line in about 6 or so seconds time to take P5 away from Ben Vinton. That they were having a good cracking battle at some stage there. He's happy with that too. Crosses the finish line. Job done, dusted, and won. Vintner, 6th place. It's only 1.7 seconds between himself and this man behind him, Eric Chandler as well. But Vintner 6th, Chandler 7th. Greg Brock, 8th place at the moment, bar an absolute disaster with Katero a lap behind. Lamb finishing off. A disappointing finish for Lamb. He must have had something going on in the pits. We'll find out and report back to you on that one next around. And poor old Chris Weitzel, the last man on track as well. But don't worry about that. The man who took out the GT3 class by absolute country mile in the end was Tyson Robbs over Shorty Madison. Then we had Shorty Brimblecombe, Dylan King, Spinazzi, Herod, Andrews, Ash Johnston, and Benny Collins rounding out the end of the racing here. We'll see how they go at the end. This is your final results for the racing. What a drive from Mohamed Colombo. Absolutely cracking stuff. First place for him. First win. Takes the first bite of the cake. Hopefully he can take that on for the rest of the season. Now that momentum, Harry Lawrence, 2nd place. Well done. Only by 1.4 seconds. And then Latanzio rounds out the top step of the podium there for the hypercar class with our podium getters for GT3s. Tyson Robbs, Sean Madison, great drive from him as well in 2nd place. And then Shawnee Brimblecombe rounds out your top 3, Lindsay.
Yeah, and that was an absolutely fantastic race. And then you have Dylan King, Spinazzi, Herod in the Aston Martin, Lachlan Andrews, Ash Johnston, Ben Collins, Hayden Marsh, and Phil Rando round out your GT3 field. And then you have 2 DNFs, all coming from the hypercar classes of Stephen Ty and Nathan Wilson. So they'll be looking to strike back in the next race. But what an absolute night of racing it was here to kick off the season. Definitely.
What a drive. Everyone on track tonight did as best as they possibly could, and that's all you can ask for in the grand scheme of things. We had worse timing for some overtakes between the hypercars and the GE3s, and then some beautiful clean air from pit strategies and whatnot come through. Harry Lawrence nearly took it away for the first time again in Season 2, but missed out by 1.5 seconds over a very, very battery-drained Mohamed Colombo. They had 0.8 left on his by the time he crossed the finish line, so he would have been sweating bullets for sure, but that was cracking stuff from the both of them. The Latanzio should be happy, and Paul Britt should be very, very happy with his first go inside the top 5 here in a hypercar class in this quality grid. That is exactly where he will be looking forward to getting himself further up into the podium positions next time around. Tyson Robbs, however, absolutely dominated everyone by the end of it. And Shawnee Madison was right there with him. Shawnee Brimblecombe, 2 Shawns, 1, 2 and 3, sitting there as well with King Spinazzi inside your top 5. Cracking driving from everyone. I reckon by the next time we come around, Phil Rando will be wanting to have a better run than what he did this time around. He is a bit further up the grid than that. Benny Collins sitting in 9th and Hayden Marsh in 10th, cracking driving. But only 2 DNFs, 2 casualties out of that race. That is great rate of attrition, Lindsay Muddle. And what an event to be privileged of. And we cannot wait for next Monday for another go at this sort of stuff. What an absolute pleasure it will be.
Yeah, and I absolutely can't wait for it. Monday night is definitely going to be a very big event that I look forward to every single week in, week out. And obviously next round we have Circuit of the Americas. So that is going to be an absolutely cracking race. It creates close racing at the best of times, and that'll just be an absolutely fantastic race. But Portugal putting on an absolute show tonight, all up and down the field. So that was fantastic stuff.
Great stuff from everyone involved. And everyone in the chat too, thank you for being around here. Great to see Alex K getting involved in the chat. Maybe more exciting and more fun watching it, Alex, than it is to be on track sometimes. But who knows? That's part of racing, that's for sure. And we'll look forward to seeing you back out on track. Good to see the Le Mans Ultimate official channel. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for tuning in as well. Hopefully you've been impressed by what you've seen, by the product you've put on, but also by what we have delivered to you guys here in the commentary box tonight. Chris T is in there. Ron Marshall, always big thank you to you. Fazari, good to have you as well. And a shout out to Boy Bagham sitting there as well as a first timer tonight. So good to have him on board as well. And thank you to everyone else who has been around here tonight watching it with us. Been cracking to have you along the board of journeys that we have here at Sensational TV. And we've got plenty more coming your way. Where this tomorrow night we have got, I believe we've got Formula One, Lindsay, once again. And then we have got Far Gone Racing as well. Wednesday night we've got the AK Racing's Wednesday Cup sitting there with you also. And just another sensational weekend of racing, Classic V8s, coming your way also on Sunday night. So stick around for that as Le Mans Ultimate just kicks us out of the server, Lindsay. That means it's time for us to go here. Pleasure to be with you tonight.
It's an absolute pleasure to be with you, and just for clarification, I put it in the chat as well, but no F1 as they are having an AusGP break week. But yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff, and what a night of racing it was. Thank you for joining us, everybody, and thank you for having me in the comms box, Zach O'Reilly.
No worries, Lindsay. Cheers, everyone. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow night and Wednesday night as well, and for the rest of the week here at Sensational TV. It's going to be fantastic to have you with us, but that's another one done. Here, Coda next week. Look out for that one, ladies and gents. But it's goodbye for us here tonight. Lindsay Muddle is the Larko, the knowledge man, the brains behind all of the cars here at Sensational TV. I've been Zach O'Reilly, and guess what? You're not. But as always here, thank you here at Sensational TV. Have a good night. As always, we'll see you next time, and definitely keep it flat out.